All right. Welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. We are going to be playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles today. So, this is the second part of the most controversial case in the entire game that I have experienced to date. This is, I think this is our third episode of it. I'm not sure. Second or third, something like that. But anyways, today should be interesting because I think we're going to be playing as Mikotoba instead of Ryunosuke. So I think we will go ahead and get an intro. Then we're going to hop in and see what we have to offer as the Great Detective's assistant. So here we go. Greetings, friends, and welcome to Enigma Night Gaming. My name is Liara, and I will be your guide in today's adventure. Today, we're playing the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles, and in today's episode, we're gonna switch it up a bit. It's time to play as Professor Mikotoba, Sholmes' assistant. Now, we are on the ship where supposedly Gregson spent his last night alive before he was discovered murdered. What are we gonna find here? Well, without further ado, let's hop into the game. Oh boy, I'm excited. Are you guys excited? I'm so curious. Alright, so we are Professor Mikotoba, and we need to find a way to distract Mr. Sailor here. Now, there is this thing. I want to see what this is. This must be a mousetrap, I think. Perhaps I could distract the crewmen's attention with this somehow. We could try it. What could we do? Snap, choo-choo. That sounds like Big Mouse in trap. Choo-choo. I will bring bucket of water later and put out of misery. Oh, he's not gonna leave right now? I don't like the sound of that. In any case, my dear fellow, that was quite unconvincing. Only Japanese mice make a true sound. Oh, really, Sholmes? And pray tell me, what do Russian mice make? What sound do Russian mice make? Pee-pee, naturally. Though also quite unconvincing, I readily admit. So go ahead, Mikotoba. Do a pee-pee this time. No, thank you. I'm sure I can come up with an alternative solution. Alright, can we ring the bell? This would appear to be an alarm bell. Everything would break loose if that thing were to ring. The whole crew would know about it. Yeah, let's try setting it off. Here goes then. Pardon me in advance. Ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling. Yo, what are you doing? If we were at sea, that would be a very bad problem. What's going on down there? Sergeant Stroganoff, report at once. Oh boy. He's away from the door. Sorry, sir, nothing to report. It was just a stupid trick. Was it now, though? No, not by me. By world famous. No, as I told you. Now, Sholmes, now. Done. Oh boy. Not even 5 seconds. Whoops. Not even 5 seconds, eh? Well, don't stand there gawping at my brilliance, Mikotoba. In we go. Oh, yes. We got to explore and see what's in there. Oh boy. What are we going to find? 3rd November, SS Grouse. First class cabin, number 2. So there's a missing picture there. Immediately I notice. Pile of clothes, a drink here, something shoved up here. Good gracious. It would appear that the occupant of this cabin did indeed disembark rather hurriedly. What in the world? Those clothes on the floor there, they're Shishiro's without question. Well, it seems we are just a little too late. Yes, by about 2 hours. Still, whilst we're here, we should investigate thoroughly. Yes, there are several things I see I want to investigate. There may well be 2 hours worth of clues to find in here. But that burly crewman may return at any moment, Sholmes. Indeed he may, which makes this all the more thrilling. I guess that means we're going to be limited on what we can explore, so let's start with this. There's a speaking tube here. Look, though it's been stopped with some cloth. So the voices of the crewmen on the bridge aren't an annoyance, I suppose. Or indeed so that the voices in this cabin aren't heard elsewhere. I mean, that's true too. Would something have happened in here that was for no one else's ears, do you think? Either that or it could be to prevent snakes from entering. I mean, yes, but that didn't actually happen. That's really become a favorite case of yours, hasn't it? I mean, alright, we have a drink here. Quite the exquisite glass, I must say. Let's see here how it... Is something wrong, Sholmes? You suddenly trailed off. Why is there ice in here still if he's been gone 2 hours? Like, you would think it'd be more melted, right? Ice, Mikotoba, ice. What opulence the first-class passengers enjoy. Chilled drinks. Pardon? Could it be that this steamship is equipped with an electrically refrigerated cold room, do you think? Oh, that is true. We were looking for a place where he could hide the body, right? Well, it is a luxury liner, after all. They have enormous refrigerators for storing all sorts of lavish produce, as well as ice. On our voyage from Japan, we enjoyed culinary delights from all over the world. Suddenly, Mikotoba, the sight of you is making my mouth water. He doesn't know how to take that. I haven't taken on the flavor of the food I ate, you know. Alright, so this is sideways. These are the rules of passage. Passengers must not keep weapons or other dangerous objects in their cabins. Pets are also strictly forbidden. Now, we found that one out in a previous case. Additionally, there are severe punishments for stowing away in wardrobes and or travel cases. That's a new one. I feel the rules have increased since I last read them. Probably just my imagination. No, it's definitely not. What about the fact they are not straight on the wall? Doesn't that strike you? You may be right. Probably just your imagination, though, a trifle. And you know what I always say, Mikotoba? There is nothing important about trifles. It's probably just my imagination, but I think that might be slightly off. Yeah, okay. We could look in the trunk. There's books here. Plenty of reading material to keep passengers occupied on the long sea voyages. I found the mixture of classic literature and easy reading to be most satisfactory, I must say. Tisk, whoever stocked this bookcase was a hopeless heretic. There's no copy of the Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes, my dear fellows. I'm afraid it's just me. But no, you're quite right. More blasphemous than overlooking the Bible. I don't know about all that. I shall keep a copy behind. I just happen to have one with me. Of course he does. Of course he does. You're a true missionary of the Church of Great Detectives, aren't you? Indeed. All right. Can we can't. Where's the... Oh, there it is. I was like, where did the arrows go? I want to look at this empty space. What was there? The wall is slightly different color just here. Do you see? Indeed. What you have observed arises when a frame that has been hanging for some time is removed. You think? Perhaps your friend is an art thief. I don't think so. Now there's a bold deduction, worthy of a great detective, I'm sure. He may very well be the elusive thief who has been plaguing France's galleries of late. I think perhaps we should focus our attentions elsewhere, Sholmes, don't you? Yep. That outline on the wall. I feel as though I might have spotted something of a similar shape and size elsewhere. Yeah, it's this. Can we look back at that? I don't know. I feel like there's it's that, but anyways, let's look down here. That's a substantial heap of clothes on the floor. An overcoat, shirts, a dressing gown. Momohiki work trousers, a Tanzan robe, a haramaki waistband, clearly the clothing of a Japanese man. And clearly, Japanese men are unaccustomed to the culture of wardrobe. It looks to me as if they've been thrown into a heap like that in something of a hurry. Yeah, like he dumped out the chest, maybe? Indeed, you could help yourself to a Japanese man's shirt, perhaps? I mean, I'm sure he has some, being a Japanese man and all. I'm sure you made mention of packing too few. I'd very likely drown in one of Shishiro's shirts. No, I'll just buy any extras I need, I think. Alright, let's look in the trunk. That's a very sizable trunk indeed. Shishiro is partial to all things large. And a rather clumsy fellow if he failed to notice he'd left that behind. Perhaps he left it on purpose. It's lighter than you might think, but still a hindrance to a speedy escape. What's inside of it, I wonder? Pity, it's locked, so we can't look inside. Surely 5 seconds from now, the situation will be quite different, though. Sadly not. It has a 7-digit combination lock. And I'm not in a morose enough mood to work through all the combinations at present. Okay. Can we look in the trash? Is there anything in here? This is the waste paper basket. Look, and there's still rubbish inside. Will it have the code? Indeed, then let us pry. I've discovered recently I have a penchant for exploring the contents of others' waste paper baskets. Do you now? I sincerely hope only for your work. I mean, we can hope. Let's see. What are you gonna find? Here we have a notice issued to passengers from 3 days ago. 3 days ago, the night before we arrived in London then. When I was still aboard myself. Alright, evacuation drill notice, 31st October. I didn't even get to read it all. Yes, there was an evacuation drill. I remember now. For our safety and security, all first-class passengers were constantly under the watchful eye of the crew. So it was a welcome relief to have some privacy for once. Alright, so we can at least go read it. It's been entered into the court record. Oh, he's back now. We discovered everything. You are still here. Able Seaman Stroganoff, hello again. I was beginning to think you'd never materialize. You are waiting for me? Of course, I was expecting you to burst in with a hearty Russian profanity far sooner. I was in trouble with Captain because of trick you played before. Poor innocent chicken. This is all your fault. Ship is leaving port soon. Get off, now. Of course, we shall disembark presently, my dear fellow, but first, there is something that must be done. What are you talking about? Why, naturally, we need to see if there's a refrigeration, right? The debunking of your deceit and the bearing of the truth. Kakoi! What is he talking about? Is it going to be a great deduction? I'm afraid I see through your lies. For one thing, Mr. Jigoku has not yet left this vessel at all. And for another, my dear Seaman Stroganoff, you know exactly where the man is, even as we speak, don't you? He looks very surprised. How can you? Good gracious, Sholmes. You mean you've worked it out, all of it? Let's see what Sholmes has to say. It's really been too long, hasn't it, old friend? 10 years, no less. Indeed. So, would you care to join me for a dance of my inimitable logic and reasoning? Of course it is. It's going to be a great deduction. Nothing would please me more. Well, what is this? Oh, lovely. We have but minutes until this vessel puts to sea. No games now. Oh, lovely. Time is of the essence. Mr. Stroganoff, allow me to remind you of your earlier claim. You told us that Jigoku left the ship some 2 hours ago. That is what I said. Sadly, that was a rather clumsy lie. You see, there is something in this room that quite clearly contradicts it. What? Yes, of course. I see you've noted it too, Mikotoba. Then please do take the lead. What in this cabin shows the impossibility of Jigoku having disembarked 2 hours ago? Let's see what the last 3 years have done to your observational skills then, Mikotoba. It's been 10 years since we last did this, Sholmes, not 3. Why, of course it has, quite. Now, all the clues are here in this cabin for your eyes to see. But as I always say, you must not merely look, but observe. Observe, and the answers become clear. So, impress me. I think I can manage that. Alright, so it is the ice, right?
Take that!
Because it'd be melted. That's hilarious. Perhaps you should have cleared away that glass. How curious that the ice shouldn't have melted despite it being abandoned 2 hours ago. It would appear that the man was here in this very cabin until moments before our arrival, with this well-chilled glass in hand. Get your mind off the refreshments, Sholmes. One might even conclude that somebody informed him of our boarding. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Stroganoff? But why would Shishiro run from us? I mean, before we consider that question, allow me to confirm one small matter. Would I be correct in saying that these first-class cabins of the SS Grouse are the same ones in which you and Mr. Jigoku were accommodated on your voyage from Japan? That's right, they are. I was in the cabin next door, and Shishiro was, yes, 50 days in this very cabin during our voyage. As I suspected, for you see, there are traces in this cabin of a dark secret that Mr. Jigoku had to hide. What traces? I know nothing about this. This is news to you, is it, Mr. Stroganoff? Sholmes, what exactly are you getting at? As I said, there are traces in this cabin of some nefarious activity. Something that appears out of place, which I'm quite sure won't have escaped your notice. Something out of place in here? That's the key to this, Mikotoba. The remnants of the dark deed that took place here are being masked by something quite incongruous. I must say, I didn't foresee ever doing this dance of deduction with you again, Mikotoba. No, quite. But life is full of unexpected twists and turns, as we well know. Now then, let's see if I can't uncover the truth here. Yes, you have the floor, my dear fellow. Okay, so what's rather awkwardly hiding the traces of a crime? I think it's either this or this. This one seems a little more obvious. So, especially because of what Sholmes said about it maybe masking the sounds from this cabin. So let's start with this as an option. It may not be, but let's try it. Mikotoba, no games now were my words, were they not? Okay, so it wasn't that one. Come, Sholmes, where is the fun in life without a little fooling around, Quite right you are. That was a close shave. I'd better rethink that before I'm the fool here. Alright, so what is the remnants of a dark deed? You must tilt your head to one side. Okay, it was the sign. And listen carefully to the faint cries of the scene. Hear the evidence calling out for you to find it. Here I am, it cries. Well, your methods were never conventional, but you know I've always been willing to give them a try. So, yes, that I did notice it. I just didn't know which thing it was specifically wanting to have. Mikotoba, open your eyes. It was a metaphorical listening that I was suggesting. Ah. All right, so it's going to be the rules of passage. All right, so he dances again. It's the rules of passage in this frame here. They're obviously out of place. The way they're hanging crooked on the wall, as if they were put there in a hurry. Yes, as I'm sure you've already concluded. The frame was originally over here. The shape and size are a perfect match. Exactly, we figured that out. You're right. When did frame move? The most observant crewman. Are you, Mr. Stroganoff? I would think your captain is quite justified in having his reservations about your reliability. Grr! Oh dear, that really seemed to touch a nerve. So, Mikotoba, why don't you lift that frame off the wall? Is there going to be a code hiding behind it for the... Oh, there's a bullet hole? Oh, that looks like a bullet hole. What? Who has been shooting walls? I see the projectile has been removed. Clearly, the careful occupant of this room has already disposed of it. Now then, Mr. Stroganoff. I have this distinct impression that you're attempting to shield said occupant. I don't know what you're talking about. Why would I try to protect Eastern Stranger? So we're talking about the same man, I see. Good. Ugh. I'm sure we can get to the bottom of this in no time, aren't you? Because there's some very noteworthy evidence that explains the reason why you're lying for the man. Yes, you've been told to keep up this pretense as clearly shown by... I really don't know how to approach this one, Sholmes. That's exactly what I was thinking. My dear Mikotoba, simply keep first principles in mind. Study your subject from every angle, and I'm quite sure you'll see it. In fact, I'd put a wager on it. So I'm to glare at the fellow from all sides. Well, I can certainly do that. Okay, so as evidenced by something in his pocket? A wad of banknotes? That seems mighty suspicious. Yeah, I think that might be it. There we go. He does this little tap dance. It is almost too obvious for words. Quite the universal language of the world, money. And I'd wager that the Eastern fellow in question is Shishiro Jugoku, yes? Yeah. So I presume you realize what this means. There are clear signs that a crime has been committed in this cabin. And the way you're going, sir, you'll find yourself accused of being an accomplice. But... I believe you knew, Mr. Stroganoff. You know where Mr. Jugoku is hiding at this precise moment in time. Did he just look at the trunk? As always, Mikotoba, in matters of deduction, the furtive glance is your unfaltering ally. Yes, I think you're onto something there, Sholmes. You found the chink in this burly fellow's armor. We need only follow the man's gaze to know where our prey is hiding. Exactly. The slightest flicker of the pupils, a minutely delayed blink. Nothing escapes my attention, even that which is barely perceptible. You could hardly call this barely perceptible, Sholmes. The man's turned his entire head. It's not exactly what you describe as a furtive glance, is it? It's almost too obvious. We shall let your tapping toes decide, my dear fellow. He is looking at the trunk, clearly.
Take that!
I mean, that's clearly where he's looking. You turned immediately to look at this large trunk, didn't you? The truth is, Shishiro Jigoku was unable to escape from the ship in time, and is, at this very moment, doing his best to stifle his breath inside this trunk. If he still has breath to take, I fear he may be running dangerously low on air. I imagine he didn't count on us making a nuisance of ourselves for quite so long. I think it would be in everyone's best interest for us to open the trunk as quickly as possible. I mean, that's true. That's why all his clothes are thrown out. But how can we? Are you forgetting about the combination lock? We don't know the 7-digit code. Oh, but I know who does. Let's see. SHOLMES. I wonder what the code is and who might have it written down on their arm. The combination lock can't be opened from inside the trunk. And therefore, there must have been an arrangement for somebody to open it after our departure. Of course. In short, before Jigoku hid himself inside that trunk, he must have told somebody the 7-digit number for the lock. As I'm sure you can confirm, Mr. Stroganoff. Go. No, I know nothing about combination code, except for I think it's upside down, maybe? I don't know, we'll see. Because that does look like a 3. Don't move a muscle, my good seaman. Exactly, so this is going to be like 5, 2, 3, 1, 0, 4, 5. Now, Mikotoba, would you do the honors and open the trunk? How on earth do you expect me? It's a 7-digit number. Remember, quickly now, we have little time. Exactly, and that's the code. Okay, let's review the scene so we can see what it is. So, 5, 2, 3, okay. So this is going to be, 5, 2, we'll go this way, 5, 2, 3, and this was 1, all right, and then 4, 5, right? 4, and then 5. All right.
Take that.
Right. Oh boy. Click. We knew it. All right. That did it. It's open. You had to meddle, didn't you? It's gonna be Jigoku inside. Oh boy. Well, Yujin, you've found me now. Shishiro. Oh, man. See, I'm wondering if he was really the professor. Like, this is just too suspicious otherwise. I was really hoping, beyond hope, not to find you here, you know. But you're not entirely surprised, I take it. No, quite. I just wish it were some other way. Well, are you ever going to introduce me? Your reputation precedes you, Mr. Sholmes. I've read stories, many of your exploits. Excuse my manner, Sholmes. This is Mr. Jigoku, my old friend and traveling companion. The devil is in the details, Mikotoba. I believe you meant to say, your old friend and traveling companion. Who made the cowardly decision to flee the country without a word to anyone when things turned sour. I see. My reputation precedes me as well. What an honor. Well, Shishiro, are you going to explain all this? You know it all by now, I imagine. What you didn't know, of course, is that 3 days ago, on the night before our arrival in Britain, an attempt was made on my life here, on this very ship. By the Reaper of the Bailey, yes, I've since heard. Because you were once prosecuted by the Reaper, weren't you? 10 years ago now, mind you. And I had no idea at the time what a dangerous individual he was. Anyway, when we arrived in London to find the symposium was postponed to goodness knows when. it became all too apparent to me that I might very well be targeted again. So you decided to flee the capital without saying a word to me about it? I'm afraid so, yes. Of course, I realize now that I really ought to have confided in you. It's somewhat surprising, I must say. What is? Well, first-class cabins aboard luxury steamships are in very short supply. It's more than a little hard to believe that this one just happened to be available. So says the protagonist of some colorful short stories. Well, I don't care for your opinion. The cabin did just happen to be available, so I purchased a ticket, and here I am. I've just seen for myself the obvious remnants of that incident in this cabin. So you'd already purchased your return ticket before we even docked in Dover, had you? To prevent anyone else taking this cabin and seeing the evidence, is that it? Eugen, I have nothing to say to you. Well, in a mere 5 minutes, the ship will set off on its onward voyage and not make port again until Italy. I'm afraid we must insist that you disembark with us at once. You have no jurisdiction over my movements. We have this, Shishiro. Take it. What is it exactly? It's the sheet we found in his garbage? No. What is it? It's a subpoena from the Old Bailey. You're a man of the law. You know what the ramifications of ignoring a document like this from the British courts would be. You came prepared then, Eugen. Come on, let's go. One moment. What is it, Sholmes? Inside Mr. Jigoku's trunk, I found this rather fascinating trinket. What is that, Shishiro? I can't help you, I'm afraid. Some small component from something. But what, I have no idea. By the look on his face, I think he genuinely doesn't know. Well, let us pocket it as a small souvenir of our brief sojourn in France. Alright, so we have a small component, a small machine part that Mr. Sholmes found. Okay. Interesting. Well, young Naruhodo, I think we've done as much as we can, I'm afraid. The rest will be on the shoulders of you and your assistant. Oh boy. Should be interesting. 3rd November, 12:10 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. And we're back. The recess is over. Kazuma Shogi. I know you, and I know you wouldn't lie, but still, there's no doubt that you're holding something back. You know more than you're saying. During the past 30 minutes while this court was adjourned, all possible efforts were expended. But sadly, Mr. Jigoku's whereabouts could not be ascertained. We must accept that unfortunate conclusion that the Reaper has already done the deed. Even though he was supposedly in custody, oh boy. There's no sense in wasting any more of the court's time. The prosecution calls for an immediate verdict. No, the trial cannot end now. You're a Japanese man, Ryunosuke. You should know when to lay down your sword. And you should know never to presume when the battle is won. The court has already been presented with all the evidence and heard all relevant testimony, and there can only be one conclusion, that the accused is guilty. All relevant testimony? Far from it. There's still a crucial witness from whom the court is yet to hear a single word of testimony. In that case, call your witness to the stand at once, counsel. Is it going to be Van Zieks himself, or is it going to be the judge? Yes, my lord. Tomorrow, if possible. The witness is already on his way and scheduled to arrive tomorrow. Who on earth is this crucial witness? Sheshiro Jigoku, the very man allegedly murdered by the Reaper. Judge Jigoku, you found him. Oh boy. The drama. But the investigations of every policing resource in the capital suggest that Jigoku is already dead. How in the name of God did you find the man? He was located in France during the recess at the port of Dunkirk. Thanks to one of Mr. Herlock Sholmes' famous deductions. Herlock Sholmes. Inspector Gregson almost certainly met with Mr. Jigoku on the night of his death because, along with Prosecutor Ashogi, Gregson was on a mission to assassinate the man. Which means that Sheshiro Jigoku is the sole witness who can clarify exactly what happened aboard the SS Grouse on the 31st of October. Oh man. So who fired the gun? Well, it would appear that it's too soon to move to adjudication at this point. Of course. The prosecution concurs. The court must hear Mr. Jigoku's testimony. No judgment should be passed until all testimony has been considered. Oh boy. Is he gonna take a recess until tomorrow? In that case, I call the end of today's proceedings. Court will reconvene at the same hour tomorrow. No objections from either side? No, my lord. I mean, we're the one who mentioned it. I assume we wouldn't object. No objections, my lord. Menzies is just like enduring. We live to fight another day by the skin of our teeth. Oh boy. What is court gonna hold on the morrow? We have to find out. Of course, we're gonna continue for a little bit. I feel like the next day is gonna be the last day and it's gonna be like an epic battle. Alright. So let's see what we have in store here. Alright, here we go. The unexpected halt of proceedings sent a clamor around the courtroom. But outside of the Bailey, where Londoners knew nothing of the secret trial within, it was a typical still night. And then, at a little past 8 o'clock that evening, Mr. Sholmes and his partner returned to Baker Street. Okay. Why is there a Thanksgiving meal all set out? 3rd of November, 8:07 p.m. at Sholmes' suite. We have returned, my dear fellows. Welcome back to Britain, and thank you for your timely help. Think nothing of it. I believe you've had an even more wearing day than Mikotoba and I knew. You could say that. We were on the brink of defeat in court earlier. So this prosecutor Shogi had you on the ropes, did he? And he's your best friend, you say? Well, he's not really the man I knew in Japan anymore. Kazuma's changed. Oh, Mr. Naruhoto. I mean, it's incredible. To think that he'd even entertain the idea of acting as the Reaper's assassin. Exactly, like, what was going on in his mind? Well, nonetheless, you must introduce me. After all, I only ever met the young man as a corpse. When all this started, almost a year ago now. Mr. Sholmes still hasn't told us the truth about what really happened back then. About the motivation for what he himself described as a great detective's lie. Is he going to now? Now then, I must say, it's really quite a journey all the way to France. Well, it is another country, Mr. Sholmes. So, what's news of Judge Jigoku? We took him to Scotland Yard, The investigating detectives there have a lot of questions for the man. I bet they do. Poor Professor Mikotoba, this must be quite a shock for him. Like, his whole life's getting turned upside down. Oh yes, I picked this up at the telegraph office on our way home. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten already? I put upon you the matter only yesterday. You put upon me, Sholmes. I had to fill out your telegram to Japan and foot the bill as well. Oh, you had a reply already? What was so urgent though, Mr. Sholmes? Such matters can wait until later. I'm far too hungry for an involved conversation at present. Well, that's good news because supper is ready, everyone. Looks like it's a full turkey dinner. Ah, and what a feast it is. If I were none the wiser, I'd think the trial were won already. Roast beef, kipper, stew, steak, and kidney pie, Yorkshire pudding. Tomorrow could be a very long day, so eat up. Oh boy. In that case, I think I'll seat myself just here. This place appears to be the only one set with a helping of pheasant as well. Oh, sorry, Hurley, not there. Why ever not? Are we in set places this evening? Yes, and that place is for Susie's daddy. Or me. That's right. I made it especially for you, Professor Mickey. I see. Well, that's terribly kind of you. Oh, they've got to have this awkward conversation. The "Are you my daddy" conversation. It's a shame, really. What do you mean? Well, for a brief moment, I believed it. That Susie and I were half-sisters, I mean. Oh. Oh, yeah, now you gotta come clean, my guy. Everyone's being awkward. Iris, do you mean? Yes, I know now. I overheard yesterday. I secretly listened into the conversation you had after I tricked you all into thinking I'd left. What? Well, I mean, what did you expect? The misunderstanding arose because of that autopsy report from 10 years ago. But actually, it turned out that neither Dr. Wilson nor Professor Mikotoba are Iris's father. Who is? Yes, about that, Iris. You know, Is it Sholmes all along? I know, you can't tell me at the moment. Oh, Iris. Man, I hope we find out by the end of it. This pheasant is my way of an apology. I'm sorry for eavesdropping. Oh, no, that's quite all right. Then why don't I get any apologetic pheasant? So just who is Iris's father? I suppose that's not something we'll be finding out today. But maybe tomorrow? I don't know. So then let us dine while our largely pheasantless plates are still piping hot. I love how he keeps putting salt in the wound there. A fine idea, Sholmes. It all looks absolutely delicious. Eat as much as you like. There are only seconds. Oh man. This could be our last chance to ask questions before tomorrow's trial. About that telegram from Japan and about Kazuma, I can't let this opportunity slip away. So we definitely need to do that. All right. So first, what I want to do is I want to actually look in the court record at some of the stuff that we got. Some of the newer stuff that we got. We got the passport, the autopsy, the great sword Karuma. Okay, so we didn't get to see this, Following departure from the port of Dunkirk, all crew members are required to assemble on the main deck at 10 p.m. in order to review evacuation procedures. The drill will take 20 minutes. Crew to resume duties as soon as the drill is over. Okay, so I think the time is going to matter. We need to remember that it's 10 p.m. on the 31st. All right, and then what is this? Is there anything about this that we can figure out? Does this go on like a staff or something? You see these little things all over the place, don't you? It's the part of on the top of a pocket watch. Oh, that you twist to set the time, isn't it? It's called the crown, I believe. A watch would be quite useless without one. A crown, like what sits on top of a monarch's head? That's a very grand name for such a tiny part. But actually, yes, Mr. Naruhodo? If this is a crown, I have a feeling I might have seen a monarch around here somewhere with a very bare head. If by monarch you mean pocket watch, then I'm quite sure you have. Oh yeah, okay. So let's check out Gregson's watch, right? Yeah, okay. So it is missing one. Exactly. What do you think, Mrs. Otto? I feel sure I know exactly what will fit here. Really? I was just thinking precisely the same thing. We're about to see that the little round component is actually part of Inspector Gregson's broken pocket watch. Really? I was just thinking precisely that too. There we go. And it was in his trunk. Oh, this is so bad. This is, oh, it's gonna get ugly in court tomorrow. A perfect fit. I knew it. She's like, sure you did. All right, perhaps you knew it. I'll make a note of this new information at once. All right, so it's a small machine part that Mr. Sholmes found in Judge Jugoku's cabin on the SS Grouse. It's now clear it's the missing crown of Inspector Gregson's pocket watch. This is not going to go good tomorrow. This is going to be a super nasty trial, I think. Do we have anything else? I think that was it. All right, so let's... I know we can talk to Sholmes. Is there anyone else we can talk to, or is it just going to be Sholmes? I think it might just be Sholmes. All right. And he looks pretty surly, doesn't he? Like he seems like angry. Let's talk to him. Oh, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? Yep, he's moping around. Surely it's abundantly clear that I wasn't brooding over Mikotoba's refusal to share his pheasant with me. Nevertheless, I felt the need to withdraw from the social circle for a while and look on with hungry eyes. Sorry, Hurley, but I cooked that pheasant especially for Susie's daddy. Even though I've played the role of father to you for far longer. Mr. Sholmes, could I discuss some things with you? Please? Certainly, my dear fellow. I find myself quite in the mood for a spell of conversation. What an emotional, 180, my guy. No doubt you're hungry to learn some more of my deep love of the game. I can probably contain my curiosity on that one. You needn't look at me in that fashion. In what fashion? It seems that before we discuss the pheasant, we have some rather unpheasant matters to discuss. What? My guy. Okay. Are you Iris's dad? Because you surely have the dad jokes down pat. Alright, let's talk to him. A telegram from Japan? So, what was in the telegram you received back from Japan then? This, I think, my lucky stars. It's arrived in time. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. K. Ashogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. So these are all names that we know, and 3 of them are now dead. Are these... Okay, let's think about this. Van Zeeks thinks that Azashin was an assassin part of the Reaper. Gregson is also part of that. Now, Wilson was killed by Azashin, supposedly, and Kazuma joined up with Gregson. Was he supposed to kill Gregson and she was supposed to kill him? Like, are these like assassination people? I don't know. What? Those 4 names. We've come across that exact same list before. Yeah, with the record that was part of the encrypted message that was in case 3 of the first game with the Irishman. I forget his name now. They came up in that unforgettable case last spring with the burning carriage, right? Yeah, where the pawn shop owner was shot. What appeared to be a simple case of aggravated murder turned out to be masking monumental intrigue. A plot that involved the sale of British governmental secrets to foreign states. In exposing the means by which those secrets were being leaked, we deciphered a fragment of a message. K. Ashogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we didn't find the names out until the case was over, and we never get to the bottom of what they meant. All we knew was that the information had been sent by somebody in the British government to somebody in Japan. So why are the names coming up again now? Yes, where did the sender of your telegram discover them, Mr. Sholmes? I have here the message I had wired yesterday. Allow me to read it to you. Enter Judge Jigoku's office undetected and investigate telegram records. Expect to find communication from Britain dated 1 year ago. List of 4 names. Need by tomorrow. Naruhodo. He infiltrated, he faked our name. I sent it to a detective I know who specializes in clandestine missions of this nature. You asked Inspector Hosonaga to undertake such an onerous task for you? And in my name? Exactly, that's what I'm wondering. I wonder what guys he opted for this time. My dear fellows, it was a matter of great urgency, you understand. Anyway, the list of names was found in Shishiro's office, as Sholmes predicted. Alright, so we'll do a quick hydrate before we continue with this dramatic reading. Man, it's getting so good. I can't wait to see where this leads us. So you mean that mysterious collection of names that was sent from Britain to Japan was... It was sent to Judge Jigoku. He was the intended recipient. I don't believe it. But that doesn't answer the question of what the list of names actually signifies. That's true. I did formulate a hypothesis about that. I mean, considering 3 of the 4 targets are dead. Makes you wonder. But without a shred of evidence, I couldn't possibly have shared it. Mr. Sholmes looks deadly serious for once. Okay, the telegram from Japan has been entered into the court record. Interesting. I want to take a look at that real fast before we continue on. Let's see. Record found as indicated. Duplicate follows. The slashes confuse me a little bit. Like, on the other hand, these 2 are from England, and she's supposed to be from Great Britain, but she has a Japanese name. So I don't know. She confuses me. We'll see. Alright, let's ask about Kazuma's death. Like, he obviously didn't die, so what was the deal there? That tragedy we had to go through on the SS Burya. It was all for nothing. Kazuma wasn't dead at all. We were completely taken in by the lie you told us. Your great detective's lie. I took no pleasure in deceiving you. However, at the time, all that concerned me was preventing the young man's study tour from taking place, whatever the cost. What? I capitalized on the events that transpired to see that he was sent back to Japan. But why? His remains, you mean? Is it because he was on the list? Precisely, Miss Susato. And then I made sure that somebody else was sent to Britain in his stead. Oh my, you mean... The arrangements between our two countries was already in place. One university student lawyer and one judicial assistant to be accommodated on a study tour. In other words, by arranging for someone else to fulfill the place originally intended for Mr. Ashogi, I would successfully prevent the man from arriving on our shores for several years at least. Wait, do you mean to say that it was all in aid of stopping Kazuma from coming to Britain? That's why you... Think back, Mr. Naruhodo. Was there not somebody who quite casually urged you to continue on the voyage to England? Yes? The terms of this study tour were negotiated by the Department of Justice in both Great Britain and Japan. In the light of Mr. Ashogi's unfortunate death, I'm afraid the study tour can no longer go ahead. Oh, was it Susato? Oh, was it him? My dear fellows, the majority of problems have an extremely simple solution, you know. That's right, it was Sholmes. All you require is one lawyer and the study tour can continue, surely? But there is no one else with the necessary qualifications, Mr. Sholmes. We know of no other lawyer. The voyage to London still promises a good month of time. Ample opportunity, I would say, to find yourselves another suitable lawyer. Exactly. So, you manipulated me. I have often remarked on the extraordinary lengths to which friendship will drive a man. I was quite sure that you would rise to the challenge for your late friend. I don't believe it. But if it was all contrived... I mean, what happened was treated by the authorities as murder. A woman was mistakenly arrested as the perpetrator. What do you suppose became of her? Naturally, I didn't allow the misapprehension to have any serious repercussions. I subsequently explained everything and assisted the unfortunate soul in finding the foreign refuge she sought. Well, that's good. I seem to remember Miss Susato and had some rather strong words for her. Well, she was certainly not devoid of all guilt. She deserved every word, I'm sure. I wonder if she made it to America then. Well, that's interesting seeing how that case got tied up. I'm afraid I simply cannot comprehend it. Why would you go to such lengths, Mr. Sholmes? Why were you so determined to stop Kazuma-sama from reaching Britain? It's gonna go back to the professor case, isn't it? The truth is, 12 months ago, there was already a very tangible omen of the impending tragedy you see. Oh! An omen that, at this very moment in time, is close at hand. Uh-oh? An omen of all these tragic events that already existed a year ago is close at hand? We need to find out exactly what Mr. Sholmes knows. So how are we going to find out? It's got to be something we present, right? What would we present to him? I mean, we've got the pocket watch, but I don't know if that's good enough. What would we give him? I'm not sure. Is there anything we could? I mean, we've got the sword. What do we have from a year ago? Let's see. A note of introduction. Dismissal. That was 10 years ago. An autopsy. What could it be? What was from a year ago? I I don't know. Autopsy. That was 3 years ago, though, so I'm not sure that was it. What else would it be? This... How do we find out? How do we find out? Is there something else? Is there something else we can present to him? I don't know. Let's see what happens if we give him the pocket watch. I don't think anything important will happen. Or what if we give him... Let's just ask him about the telegram. That was dated... That was surely a year ago, because that was when we came in. He already knew about this, right? So let's see. Is it the telegram? There was no room for doubt with your instructions in this telegram, Mr. Sholmes. You were very clear that it was Judge Jigoku's office that should be searched, so you obviously knew that's where the list of names would be found. Exactly. K. Ashogi, A. Shin, T. Gregson, J. Wilson. But we only learnt of those 4 names just over 6 months ago now. And only because they appeared as part of the top secret government communications that were leaked. That's true, yes. But at the time, you were unaware of the background. You see, those 4 names were wired to Japan. Around 6 months before that. Approximately this time last year, in fact, when you were both still in Japan. What? It really would be hypocrisy on my part to reprove others for intercepting state secrets, because, after all, I'm perpetually eavesdropping on communications between the British and Japanese governments. Of course you are. You're perpetually doing what? How? Never mind the details, but you should know. No secret is safe from Herlock Sholmes when he has designs on knowing it. Of course. Oh my, Mr. Sholmes, what a fabulous line! Now, 1 month after that list of 4 names was wired to the recipient Jigoku in Japan. Dr. John H. Wilson was murdered. Yes, by Asa Shin. As soon as I learnt of the incident, hypothesis rapidly took shape in my mind. As it turned out, I was partly correct, and partly mistaken. Nevertheless, it was the beginning of all the tragic events that were to follow. Mr. Sholmes, please, tell us all you know. Tell us about these 4 names and the tragedy to which they are all somehow connected. We've got to know the 4 names. As I said, when I learnt of Dr. Wilson's murder in Japan, my mind immediately turned to those 4 names, because you see, there was someone else on the list who I believe to be recently deceased. What? Who? A Shin, as it was transcribed in Japanese script. In actual fact, Miss Asa Shin. That was a familiar name to me. She was a professional killer, well known among London's unsavory classes. Oh, I see. But she had completely vanished from existence several months before Wilson's murder. So I came to the logical conclusion that she had herself been killed. And accordingly, I became fearful for the lives of the 2 remaining persons on the list. Ah, K. Ashogi and T. Gregson. Owing to our proximity, I decided to take measures to protect Gregson myself, but I determined it would be safest if young Ashogi were to stay away from Britain. Ah, so that's why you went to such lengths to prevent his study tour from going ahead. Exactly. So you already knew who Kazuma-sama was, Mr. Sholmes? Oh yes, Sholmes and I have exchanged correspondence for years. I recounted many tales about Ashogi to him in my letters, and the news of Dr. Wilson's death, of course. So Dr. Wilson is dead then? I didn't know. Yeah, this is the first time she's found out. Oh, Iris? I know he wasn't my daddy, but still. That's very sad. I'm so sorry, Iris. We knew the significance of the name, obviously, but we just couldn't bring ourselves to tell you. No. She's gonna get it. Well, what you just told us, Mr. Sholmes, doesn't completely tie in with the facts. There's one big hole in your hypothesis. A big hole, Mr. Naruhodo? Ah, yes. You mean about Azashin, I presume. Oh, of course. Exactly. She wasn't killed, was she? Yes, she was. She was in Japan posing as a visiting student under the assumed name of Giselle Brett. I'm glad you're keeping up, my dear fellow, but I only became aware of that fact 2 days ago, in the foyer of the Great Waterloo Hotel. Ah. And upon hearing that startling revelation, the hypothesis that I'd formed surrounding those 4 names was completely turned topsy. What? Topsy? Okay. So you thought they were, like, assassination targets? Maybe? Or... no, I don't know. Because you thought one of them was an assassin, and one of them was the assassinee. So, did you think these were... I don't know. What did you think? What do you mean when you said your hypothesis was turned topsy, Mr. Sholmes? I had to believe all 4 names on the list to be the names of victims. Okay. However, I was mistaken. Very much so. Azashin was a killer. So this telegram is a list of both victims and killers, is it? It would seem so. If that's so, that means Kazuma killed Gregson? Indeed, and it would seem that Miss Shin was dispatched from Britain with the sole intention of dispatching Dr. Wilson. Her visiting student status being merely a front. Ah. Uh-huh. Which would, of course, explain why no motive could be determined for her actions. So the real reason Dr. Wilson was killed by Azashin is because he was the target of an assassination. And for armed with that knowledge, fresh consideration of this telegram puts the list in a very different perspective. It does, because Azashin and Kazuma Ashogi are both on the same line. Does that mean he's an assassin too? What do you mean? Well, does it not strike you? There is another among the 4, who subsequently became a visiting student. Wait, you mean? Connect the dots there, Ryunosuke. But of course, a name you know only too well. You mean Kazuma? Yes. Oh. He did say in court earlier today. Yes, on 31st October, I accompanied Inspector Gregson to Dunkirk in order to carry out a mission. And the mission was the assassination of the Mark. Young Mr. Ashogi accepted that mission a year ago now. Surely not. In conclusion, this document is a contract of sorts, an international agreement, one might say, detailing an assassin exchange. An assassination exchange? How could Kazuma possibly have got involved in something like that? What? I mean, it's not that surprising, but at the same time, it totally is. Let's assume that we have 2 parties, each wishing to dispose of a distinct individual. So this is like a classic murder mystery type of trope. You have 2 strangers kill the other people, you know? Is that where this is going? Those 2 parties then make a contract to swap their respective assassination targets. That would then be an assassin exchange. then that would mean... So, to begin with, the British assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Japan, where she kills her target. So, does that mean Kazuma's original target was John H. Wilson? And then Azashin's original target was Gregson, but they swapped him? And then the Japanese assassin is dispatched as a visiting student to Britain in order to eliminate his target. It certainly does sound like an exchange. But what on earth is the point? Don't forget, Naruhodo, that the British assassin at least escaped conviction, thanks to diplomatic immunity afforded by consular jurisdiction. Oh yes. Such jurisdiction should be null and void under the terms of the new treaty between our two countries. So the fact that it was brought into play suggests intervention at the very highest levels. Jogoku? The highest levels? Was the judge involved in this? These murders were two sides of the same coin, linked not by a common motive but by contractual agreement. As such, they appeared utterly unrelated, yet in truth, the assassins were complicit in one singular devilish scheme. That disassociation and the safeguard of diplomatic immunity were, I believe, the motivation behind this plot. But wait a minute, Sholmes. If this telegram really is describing the exchange of assassins as you're suggesting, it would mean that the Japanese killer's target was never Sheshiro Jigoku at all. It would mean Ashogi's target was actually Inspector Gregson. What? Kazuma was here for Gregson? Yeah, I mean, how did y'all not connect this dot already? So Judge Jigoku wasn't actually the mark. No, but I think he's evolved in that high up power thing that we're talking about. Yes, that's exactly what it would mean. And now the truth has come out. I hold myself personally responsible for failing to keep the inspector safe. Mr. Sholmes. I told him of my fears and implored him to seek a transfer to an overseas position. So that's why he was looking at France. Obviously, with the young pickpocket in tow. Okay, that does make sense. Yes, Gina. Come to think of it, Inspector Gregson did mention that to us at the Great Exhibition, that he'd be transferring to the Paris police and taking Gina with him. But without informing me, he engaged in one last assignment, it seems. And sadly, it turned out to be his very last. This is too much to take in. Man. So we have the Reaper in play, but also these assassins. All right, everyone, that's quite enough of all that serious talk for one day. Isn't it, Hurley? I mean, look at the time. We gotta get some beauty rest for court tomorrow, right? Quite right, Iris. We must conclude our preparations for tomorrow. What preparations? Well, I think I shall make my way back to my hotel room now. This has certainly been a night to remember. It is a little bit sad, though. I mean, I liked the idea of you being my daddy. Because then Susie would have been my big sister. I'm sorry, Iris. What's Cesato gonna say? I know, Iris. I was thinking quite the same thing. Were you? But if somebody like me would be worthy, I would be delighted to become your sister. What? Really? Oh yes, without question. So you'll teach me all the ways you know to throw Bruno to the floor? Yes, yes, of course. It would be my pleasure. You didn't have to agree quite so readily. Oh, but wait a minute. If Susie's going to be my big sister, you could be my big brother if you want, Bruno. Huh? I mean, yes, of course. If you'll have me, I'll gladly be your brother. Well done, Iris. We must always be mindful of feelings. I've raised you so well. Because being sensitive is your strong suit, naturally. Oh, man. That was great. All right, I'm going to work extra hard for tomorrow now because it's for my big brother and sister. What is all the talk about preparing for tomorrow? Preparing what? Hee hee. You'll just have to wait and see. Oh. Oh my. Good luck in court tomorrow. I'm expecting a sterling performance. I'm sure it will be. I'll do my very best, of course. Oh man, it's gonna be amazing. So the overnight break in the trial's proceedings became a crucial turning point, exposing new truths whilst posing new conundrums. That list of 4 names on the telegram in Judge Jigoku's office, and the extraordinary assassination plot in which my best friend had somehow become involved. I felt as though I had been plunged into an even greater darkness all of a sudden. But at the same time, I felt sure I would see the light again soon. It's all of our friends. Because I was lucky enough to have the most wonderful family in the world standing steadfastly behind me. Yep. That's amazing. Awesome. Well then, that was a nice, convenient little stopping place. All right, let's give it a save, and then we'll wrap this up. Nice. All right, that one was a short one. So it was kind of a convenient placement there. Let's get back to the title screen. Nope. We're going back to the title. All right. There we go. Man, this case is turning out to be insane. Kazuma's an assassin? Really? I mean, we kind of guessed that might be who killed Gregson, but what are we going to see tomorrow in court? What is this preparations that Iris has cooked up? It's going to be quite an amazing presentation, I think. We definitely don't want to miss it. So if you like this kind of content, please make sure to like, subscribe, follow, share, all that good stuff. If you want to watch live, we're on Twitch at twitch.tv/LayR27. I have my schedule posted in the about and in the description. And if you want to see which games we're playing each day, I post them on x.com/LayR27. And I hope you'll join me in the next one. Until then, guys, bye. All right, man, that was awesome. But let's go ahead and get out of here. Out. Yep, we're done. That was amazing. But that is going to be it for us today, guys. We will be back here tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, of course. We're going to be playing some more Nancy Drew. I'm trying to think where we left off on Nancy Drew. We were tracking down some more secrets with the hobo code. Oh, we were trying to open the journal. That's what it is. And I had an idea. So I think that we're going to be like slapping ourselves in the head if it works. So we'll just have to wait and see. And then afterwards, we're going to be heading to Mist 3 again. We're in our 3rd and final age. We need to figure out how to turn on the wind component to open this central door, because everything but the wind is powered up. So I think as soon as we figure out how to turn that one on, then we will be able to progress further. So that's going to be interesting. And now let's see who we can raid. Why don't we raid Catitude TV playing Disney Universe? Because, you know, we gotta have some good, wholesome Disney stuff. But anyways, thank you guys so much for hanging out. I appreciate everybody. I hope you had fun, and I hope you will join me tomorrow. It's going to be lots of fun figuring out all the puzzles and trying to get lost in Mist, because I'm terrible at navigating, so it's gonna be great. But anyways, I I will see you guys tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central. Until then, guys, bye.